Welcome back, and thank you very much for your time. Mr. Kyeremanten is here to talk to us about the economy. Good evening, sir.
Good
How
evening.
have you been? You've been doing a lot of talking these days. Yesterday you were on radio, and
Well,
I see you've hit the campaign running.
I know one of the biggest indictments that I have is that I don't take advantage of the media. But I'm sure I've told you before that I like selective exposure. Not too much exposure, not underexposure. So
that's what you've been about.
yes, that's what
I
I've
heard
been
you
about.
addressed an export forum the other day. Kofi Kunodo, President, and others were there.
Yes, indeed.
What was
yeah.
your takeout from that event? Was it good?
Well, one of the things that I thought was being highlighted in that dialogue, which I thought was absolutely critical, was this whole issue of exports to maximize our revenue of foreign currency. Because I believe that we've not given exports the attention that it deserves. And the proposal that I made was that for once in this country, we need to put export development at the center of our national development agenda. If we had done that years back, we would have been able to diversify our export base away from cocoa, gold, and timber. And the problem that we have now with our currency inflows would have been addressed many years back. So if you're looking at countries that have achieved superlative performance, China, Korea, Japan, even the old matured economies, at the base of that was exports and investments. You know, so if this is going to be the beginning of a new dialogue on how we focus on exports, then I think it's a good sign.
We will come to the politics of the National Council meeting yesterday in a little while. But let's deal with...
I thought you said we were going to talk about the economy.
I was just going to ask you if you were at the meeting, what happened.
I wasn't.
Oh, you were not at the meeting?
No,
because we
no.
interviewed the General Secretary the night before.
Oh, you did?
On Tuesday night. And he said that all presidential aspirants had been invited to attend this meeting. But nevertheless, anyway, let's get to the critical issues that I raised with you this morning. And the sub-theme of this interview would be if Kyeremanten were president. Tell us some of the critical errors that you think this president is committing with the economy.
First, 5 things. First is arresting the decline in the value of our local currency, the cedi.
He has failed to arrest the decline?
That is absolutely critical because the impact of that decline on the economy in general is so fundamental that we've got to do something about that. Number 2 is the size of our public debt.
Let's focus on the decline of our currency.
Yes.
You attribute the decline of our currency to this president's policy or something like that?
No, we can talk in general about what I think has given rise to
the decline of the currency.
Decline. You want us to do now
yes.
or go through all the rest?
Let's do it now so viewers can follow. We'll get to the other 4.
Very well. A number of things. Basically, when the value of your local currency is declining, it is only declining in respect of other currencies.
Yes, declining in respect of, say, the dollar or the pound.
Absolutely. So that's one thing that we need always to keep at the back of our minds. If that is indeed the case, then the decline in the value of our currency means that we have limited foreign exchange earnings. And in a sense, if you want to describe this in a light-hearted manner, you would say that we don't have enough foreign currency coming in to support our local currency. So it is the cedi that is now chasing the limited foreign exchange that we have. Let's, for the purposes of this discussion, just use dollars. So you have now the cedis chasing the dollar because we have very limited foreign currency inflow. That's one part of the equation. Then obviously, you also have to make sure that the outflows is reduced. Now, if you're looking at two sides of this equation, then how do you really deal with this? My own sense is that for you to be able to enhance the level of your export revenues, you have to be able to export. And to export, you have to diversify your export base. And it is an indictment on all of us as Ghanaians that for over 100 years, we've not been able to think beyond cocoa and gold in terms of our export base. I know that during the President Kufuor's administration, that's during the government that I was part of, we made a modest effort at putting export development at the center of our national development agenda. So all the talk about the President's Special Initiatives, the PSIs, were a fundamental move towards diversifying the export base away from cocoa. So we talked about industrial starch, which is one of the most widely used raw materials for export. And then we talked about oil palm. We talked about garments, that's light industry. And then we also talked about industrial salt. Now, if we just took oil palm, just for you to understand what the kind of impact it would have had. Malaysia earns over 18 billion US dollars in the export of crude palm oil alone. And Indonesia does $27 billion
in the export of oil palm.
In the export of oil palm. Now, if you compare this with the revenues that we have from cocoa, for example, you're looking at maximum of $2 billion per annum. Let's say between $1.5 billion to $2 billion. Now, if you think about the fact that the conditions under which oil palm is grown in Malaysia, in Indonesia, is very similar to what we have here. And the fact that these countries actually started their own industry after we did, then it is amazing that we've not been able to tap this as a potential export earner.
Do we have a competitive advantage in that, in this oil palm? Do we grow it better than Malaysia? Do we have a natural soil that can germinate it better